Hey, this is Dan here at Studio Blue. Only props that are optional that you may need today. If you have a mini ball, you could use a mini ball, or if you have a pillow, you could use a folded up pillow or a throw pillow. And then a foam roller. And you might hear me, I know there's some people at home that don't have foam rollers, so I'll cue you some different ways to kind of warm up your backs and your spine. If anything doesn't feel good, please don't push it or any kind of bad or negative pain. That said, if you have a foam roller, you can grab it. We're going to start by rolling out our back. So this is option one. So you're on the rib cage, kind of center of the shoulder blades, hands can come behind the head, hips will lift, knees bent, and we're just going to gently roll to the base of the ribs and then up towards the top of the shoulders. Now, if you don't have a foam roller, you can come onto hands and knees and just go into some gentle cat stretches, curling tail, dropping chin, and then opening the chest. So we're still just starting to move the tissue, get some blood circulating, surrounding and extending. Now, if you're using your foam roller, you might play around with taking your hands across your shoulders or up to the sky or overhead. And whatever you do with your hands or your arms is going to change where your shoulder blades are on your ribs. So it's going to change what you're actually rolling out, kind of where more of the surface area is, right? And if you need the support for your neck, definitely keep your hands back there, right? If not, you can play around with just different arm positions and just see how it feels on your upper back. And if there's any places that feel like you need a little bit of extra time, right, in your cat stretch, if you're on hands and knees or if you're rolling, just feel free to hang out, take a couple extra breaths. And then find the center of the shoulder blades, hands together behind the head, hips to the ground, and just extend back a little bit, opening the chest. Now, if you're in hands and knees, open the chest, lift the tail feathers, and come into extension. Right, here on the roller, we're just getting a little bit of passive back extension by lying over it. And just keep the chin a little bit dropped, keep your neck nice and supported, give your neck a little bit of traction, so there's some length in the back of the neck extensors. And then curl the chest up. Good. And we're gonna come onto our back with the foam roller. So if you don't have one at home, no worries. We're gonna come into a low kneeling lunge. If we have one, we're gonna be knees bent, feet flat. We're gonna lift the hips and place the roller underneath the sacrum. And this could actually be done with a ball as well. You could take your ball underneath your pelvis, left leg to the ground, right leg hugs into the chest. And we're just gently reaching the left thigh towards the ground, drawing the waistline in and opening up the front of the left hip. So holding here for a moment, that left leg is nice and long to the ground. That right leg is hugging in towards you. You're going to inhale and bend the knee, trying to drag the heel towards the foam roller. And then exhale, think of pushing your heel away from you. So again, as you inhale, kind of drag, pull the left heel towards you. You're activating more of the back of the hamstring. And then as you exhale, push the heel away, actively opening through the front of the hip. So we're not just kind of hanging out and stretching the hips, but you're actively warming up the joint and creating some motion. So bend the left leg in towards you, push the left leg away from you. Yeah, try to keep the heel on the ground. Yep. Yeah. So that left leg, that one on the ground, see if you can pull that left leg towards you, drag it towards you. Yeah, actually move it though. Bend that knee. There you go. And now push it away. Yeah, and then take a couple like that. So again, you're warming up that left hip joint. Now, if you don't have a roller or a ball, you could do this in a low kneeling lunge. Waistline's in. We're leaning a little bit in and then leaning a little bit out. Yep. There you go. And then as much as possible, if you are on your back, can you keep the heel on the ground the whole time? Yeah, try to keep that left heel on the ground the whole time. So only go so far that heel doesn't pull up. Yeah, it might not be super far, that's fine. And then push it away. And you might notice every time you actively push that heel away, you get a little bit of an extra stretch to the front of the hip. And then drag that left leg all the way into your chest, send the right leg down to the ground. If you're in a low kneeling lunge, just switch legs. So opposite leg forward, rib line in, waistline in. Right, if you're on the foam roller, pull and drag your right heel towards the roller. Try to keep the heel on the ground. Keep your waistline in and then push that heel away from you. Yeah, there you go. Try to keep the heel on the ground the whole time. Right, once you notice if it wants to start to come up, that's as far as you go, and that's fine. Just got a little bit of hamstring warm up as you bend in. Active hip opener as you push out. Couple more. Everybody feeling this? Okay. Just one more like this. Reaching out. Hug both legs into the chest. If your hands and knees are in a kneeling position, push back child's pose. If you have your foam roller, just hug those knees into the body, giving the lower back and the middle back a little bit of mobility and stretch. And then settle the feet to the floor. Lift the hips. Take that roller out of there. Roll down, upper, middle, lower back. And then we'll all just set ourselves up so we're on our backs. And grab your mini ball, place it in between the knees, and give it a little squeeze. Find neutral pelvis. So you can take a couple pelvic curls to establish a neutral, right? There's a little bit of space under the lower spine, lower waistline's in. Hands together behind the head, elbows to the sky, nod the chin, and then exhale, curl the head and the chest up. And then inhale, lower the head and the chest down. Little squeeze into your ball, feel your pelvic floor lift, lower waistline gently in. Inhale down, and exhale up. So keep going with this. And feel like that lower waistline, so from hip to hip and from pubic bone to belly button, every time you exhale and lift, that area of your stomach stabilizes, and then the upper spine and the middle spine is actually moving. So your upper abs, your obliques are helping to lift the trunk. Right, and as always, this is going to be where you can always come back to kind of our foundational ab move. Last one, curl up, hold. Now keeping the elbows pretty wide, exhale, we'll twist up and over to the right. Elbows still wide, left hip heavy, inhale center, and then exhale up and over to the left. Inhale center, exhale to the right. Inhale center, exhale left. Inhale center, little squeeze, exhale right. And center, little squeeze, exhale left. And center, one more each side, exhale to the right. And last one to the left. And then come all the way down through center. Walk the feet towards you, imprint the lower spine, float the legs up through tabletop. Grab the back of the thighs and lift the head and the chest. Elbows wide, shoulders soft, shins about parallel to the floor. Maybe just take a little wiggle into your upper back and shoulders. Take an inhale, exhale, squeeze your ball. Slowly bring the hands back around to the head, staying lifted, head supported. Now, in your next breath out, just breathe, squeeze your ball, and feel your waistline draw in. Inhale, breathe wide into the back of the ribs. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, breathe wide. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, breathe wide. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, breathe wide. Last one. Exhale, squeeze. And then lower the chest, lower the head. Take your ball off to the side for now. Grab the back of the thighs, re-lift the head and the chest. Elbows wide, deep breath in. Exhale, hands together behind the head. And on your next breath out, take the right heel towards the ground. Inhale up, exhale, left heel towards the ground. Now this can be done with the head on the ground. As you tap, you could always take your ball behind your head. Arms rest by the side. So lots of different ways to play around with this. If you want to start to advance it, just tap your heel a little further away from your body. Just make sure your body doesn't start to kind of go into a back bend, right? So you're keeping that lower, middle, upper ab stability, right? Good. Keep lifting the chest up. Notice if your bottom tips of your shoulder blades are kind of holding you up, you're using them as anchors. Can you lift off the bottom tips of the shoulder blades so the abs have to turn on a little bit more? And to the left. And then lower the head, lower the chest. Take the feet to the floor one at a time. And then feet are going to be about inner hip distance apart, arms by your side. Curl the tail and slowly roll the hips to the sky. One vertebra at a time. So hips lifting, knees stretching forward, heels pulling towards sit bones. Inhale at the top, exhale, roll it down. All the way down we go, upper, middle, lower back. And again, inhaling, exhale, curl and roll up. Back of the glutes on, front of the hips opening, and roll it back down. And next time we lift up, let's hold at the top. So we'll curl, roll. Feel some weight in your left leg, left foot. Exhale, right leg can float tabletop. Inhale, it taps down. Exhale, it lifts back up. So we're hinging into the right hip, ribs staying heavy, waistline staying in. And do you feel your left glutes? Oh, yes. You're going to feel some hamstrings here working as well. Just make sure the glutes are the star of the show. Last two. On the last one, set the right foot down to the ground. Keep the hips lifting high and hold. Switch legs, opposite leg floats up. Yeah, ribs are soft, right? Tap left heel towards the ground. Inhale, bring it up. So a lot of that strength now is in that standing leg, in the back of the glutes, the hamstrings, and also the waistline. Last four, 3, 2. On the last one, feel both feet heavy to the ground. Take a breath, lift the hips a little bit higher. Exhale, roll down, upper back, middle back, lower back. All the way down to neutral. And then find your imprint. Legs float up one at a time, and then reach the legs to the sky. Grab the back of your thighs, just under the knees, lift the head and the chest. So we're up off our shoulders. And then grab both hands below the right knee, keep the waistline in, and send the left heel to the ground. And I want you to feel that left heel pushing down lightly and your waistline still drawing in, right? Right leg pulls in. Now, is that left heel touching the ground? Can it push down into the floor so the front of the hip opens? Exhale, switch. Left leg pulls in, right heel pushes down, waistline stays in, and then we switch. Now we can always grab onto the calf above the knee. This can be done again with a ball or a prop, a pillow behind the head, or with your head on the ground, right? So the leg that's pulling towards you, you get a nice active hamstring stretch. The leg lowering, active hip opener, ending left leg up, right leg down, and then hug the left leg into the body. Let the head come down. Inhale, pull that left leg across, open the left arm, turn the palm to face up, breathe into that side. Just make sure that the lower back isn't overly arched on this, so there's still a little bit of length in the spine and a sense of drawing in through the stomach. Opening through the chest, rotating through the upper spine and the middle spine. Exhale back to center, left leg to the floor, right leg into your chest. And then pull that leg across, open the right arm, turn the palm to face up. Again, just make sure the lower back isn't overly arched. A little bit of an imprint or neutral is fine on this. And breathe into that right side. And feeling a stretch anywhere from the armpit down across the hip. And then back to center. Good. Even out the hips. Find that just a little bit of an imprint. So my tail's still heavy. I'm just using my waistline, my obliques to bring the ribs and hips towards one another. Legs float up to the sky. Arms float up to the sky. Shoulders pretty heavy. Now, as we exhale, take your arms overhead. See how far can you go without touching the floor and without letting the back arc up off the ground or the ribs, without letting the ribs pop. And then inhale, come back to center. Again, as you exhale, arms reach overhead, front of the rib line's drawing down towards the top of your hips. Inhale back to center. Now you can add on as the arms reach overhead, one heel, so my right heel will tap towards the ground, and then everything comes back to center. Then arms reach overhead, left heel taps towards the ground, back to center. So yeah, so keep going. Try to keep the head heavy the whole time. Yeah, try to keep the head on the ground. Yeah, and as your heel goes down, yeah, there you go. And just arms and legs come back. Now, if you want to add on, once you finish with your left side, come back to center, grab the top of your shins, lift your head and chest. The head and chest will stay lifted. And then this time as you exhale, legs reach 45 degrees away from you, arms reach overhead. Inhale, come back, grab your shins. So coming into the full double leg stretch. Exhale, reach. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, reach. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, reach. Inhale back, keep going. Now again, double leg stretch, head can be on the ground, you can use a pillow, or you can peel it back to what we were just doing a moment ago, where your head is supported, you're doing more of a heel tap. Right, so lots of different ways to get here. Yep, and then Vicky, as your arms go back, think of lifting the chest up a little higher. Yeah, there you go. So yeah. Last one. Yep. Back to center, lower the head, hug the knees into the body, and just give the hips a little roll, a little rock from side to side. Should feel pretty nice. And then bring the legs back to tabletop, grab the back of your thighs, lift the head and the chest, right? Knees 90 degrees, they're right over the hips. Take a breath. Exhale, arms reach forward, turn the palms to face up. Exhale, twist to your right, taking your left palm on top of your right hand. Inhale back to center. So it's kind of like you're playing patty cake. Exhale, right hand on top of left. We twist to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, up and over. Inhale, center. Exhale, up and over. Now, right, this can also be done hands behind the head. We're twisting up and over to one side. Inhaling back. Exhale, twisting to the other side. Right, so lots of different options. So hands behind the head, a little more supported for the neck. You might find it's a little harder on the abs or the obliques, right? There's more weight behind you. Take one more to your left whenever you get there. And lower the head, hug the knees into the body again. Nicely done. Settle the feet to the floor. And feet are going to be about shoulder distance. Keep the feet where they are on the ground and just let the knees fall to the right. So knee sway, you can feel that lift coming up through the front of the belly, through the front of the pubic bone, arms can open. Now you can hold here or take your right foot on top of your left thigh. So you're aiding in a little bit of internal rotation on that left leg. You got it. Again, just make sure the back isn't hyperextending. The core muscles are still in. Release right foot to the ground. Use your core, bring yourself back to center, knees to the left, feet stay pretty wide. Yeah, hold here or add on left foot on top of right thigh. Yeah, exactly. So you get a little bit of that internal rotation. Yeah, breathe into it. And then left foot to the ground, come back to center. Both legs lengthen down. So getting ready for the roll up. So if you need weights or a pillow under your back, whatever you may need, we can grab it. Thighs together, toes pointed, arms overhead, palms face one another. Ribs heavy, inhale, arms, head, chest, lift, pause when your arms are parallel to the ground. Exhale, roll yourself up. Slowly round forward, shoulders nice and easy, and then curl, slowly start to roll back in space. Good. Just nice and slow on the down. Arms eventually overhead, pelvis neutral. And again, arms, head, chest, roll up and through. Yeah, good. Stretch it forward. And then just start to roll back. Now, if rolling up doesn't feel so hot today, you can start on the up part and then roll down quarter of the way, halfway, just however far. You can maintain the core connection, the weight of the feet, and then we just roll it back forward. All right, so half roll down, A-okay. All right, doesn't have to be big. Yeah, you could also wrap a band around your feet if you want a little bit more support on the way down or on the way up. Yep. Last one. So we'll end rolling up whenever you get there. Yep. Stretch forward. And we'll pause at the top. Nice job. Restacking, sitting tall. Grab your mini ball. And we're going to set it up at the base of our shoulder blades. Knees bent, feet flat. All right. So just somewhere at the bottom and tips of the shoulder blades. Make sure your lower back has some support. And there's a sense of the tailbone lengthening under, hands behind the head. Hips squared off, waistline in. And then inhale, just start to stretch the upper spine and the middle spine back. So I'm not going into my full extension. I'm just trying to get upper, middle back moving. Lower back stays pretty still. Exhale, curl up and imagine you could hover your body up off that ball. And then again, inhale, we sink down into the ball and then start to stretch back. And then exhale, nod the chin, curl, and imagine you could literally kind of float up off the ball a little bit. Inhale back. Now ways to add on. Exhale, curl up, hold. Left foot stays heavy, right leg floats, we'll say tabletop-ish, just shin about parallel to the ground. And then as I stretch back, I can lengthen my right leg towards the ground. I'm not going to touch on this one. Waistline stays in, and as I curl up, I bend into that leg. So again, I can lengthen away. My lower back and pelvis don't change shape. And then I bend and curl up. All right. Just imagine, right? If that leg is lengthening away, the front of the hip is opening. Right? And if the hip is opening, then the back isn't going to overly arc. Yeah. Last two. Yeah. And last one. And next time you're up, let's set the right leg down. We'll switch. Left leg floats up. Shin parallel to the ground. We lengthen out. So as we stretch back, left leg's lengthening towards the ground. We curl up, bend that leg in. And again, we lengthen over, right? Try to maintain neutral. Try not to overly arc the low back or the pelvis. Curl. So a little bit of deep hip, deep inner thigh, and abdominals. Are we feeling our abs? Oh, yeah. Curl. There's some weight through that standing foot. That's going to help stabilize and help keep the pelvis square. Last two. Inhale, lengthen, open. Exhale, curl. Last one. Inhale, lengthen, open. Big inhales into the ball. Exhale, curl. Stay lifted. Set that foot down. Maybe take the ball a little higher towards the shoulders and just stretch over the ball. And this one you can kind of relax into. So just make sure the ball's in a place that feels like you can still breathe. Not a lot of tension on the back or the neck. Just a breath or two, letting the abs get a little stretch for a moment. Exhale, curl the head and the chest. Oh, and we'll take that ball off to the side. Nicely done. So we'll come on to the back. Now this next one, you could use a roller or a ball. So feet are going to be about hip distance. The ball's going to come under the right foot. right? Or you could take one end of the roller under the right foot as well. So it doesn't have to be the ball. The ball's nice because it's pretty unstable. It's going to make our hamstrings really have to work hard. So I have the center of my foot pushing down at the center of the ball. You want to make sure that ball doesn't kind of push away from you, but there's a sense of pulling it towards your body. And then puts a good amount of weight in your left leg and just hover the hips a couple inches off the ground. So my right foot is still on the ground, but a lot of the work right now is in my left leg. It's in my standing leg. Check that your hips are square, your waistline's in. And then as you exhale, just push very lightly into the ball and think of pulling it towards you. And then inhale, lighten up slightly. You're going to feel the weight transfer back to the standing leg. Exhale, push down into the ball. Offload a little. Exhale, push. Now, every time you push, right, you want to feel your hamstrings, but I also want you to think of the waistline drawing in simultaneously. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Nice, couple more like this. So this is really going to start to fire up into the back of the hamstrings. Yeah, very good. Yeah, and the hips don't have to be real high in this. Last one. And then settle the hips back down to the ground. Switch the ball over to the other side. So right foot's on the ground, center of the foot at the center of the ball. Yeah, lift the hips up, just hover off the ground, still neutral. And then as we exhale, right, left foot pushes down. You're going to feel the back of those left hamstrings. Inhale to release a little. Exhale, push. Inhale, release a little. Exhale, push. Release a little. So every time you push, do you feel those hamstrings? Sweet. And it's also working on balance because the ball's pretty unstable. So all those smaller muscles in the foot and the shin, they're going to kick in. Rib lines in, waistline's in. Last 3. 2. Last 1. And send the hips down to the ground. So if you want to advance, both feet on the ball, thighs together. And again, roller would work on this as well. Make sure the ball didn't push away from you, but again, feel like it's pulling towards you. Those centers of the feet are at the ball. Hover the hips up, right? Don't let that ball push out. Pull the heels towards you, right? Ribs are in. Now maybe we lift the hips a little higher. Take a breath in. Exhale, slowly lower. Hover the hips off of the ground. Inhale. Exhale, curl the tail, lift the hips. Inhale at the top. Exhale, lower. Hover the hips off the ground. Now, if both feet on the ball feels like a little too much today, go back to just one foot on the ball at a time. Take about 4 and then just switch over to the other side and do 4, right? Both feet on the ball, a lot less stable, a lot more work in the hamstrings. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Keep pulling that ball towards you or keep pulling that roller towards you. Try not to let it move. Yep. Lift and lower the pelvis. Last one. And then roll all the way down. Upper back, middle back, lower back. Hug the knees in. It's a lot of hamstring. Oh, yeah. We felt it. Hug those knees in. Send the legs to the sky. Softly point the toes. Lift the head and the chest. It's a nice active stretch through the back of the legs now. Hands together behind the head. Stay lifted. Flex your feet, heels together, toes apart. Right? So nice big active stretch through back of the hamstrings, back of the calves. Inhale, open the legs out to the side into a split. Keep the lower back imprinted. Keep the tail heavy. Exhale, use your inner thighs to pull back in. Inhale, stretch open. Exhale, pull back in. So you're not only working your abs, but you should be getting some mobility back into the back of those legs. Yeah, keep the head and the chest lifting, right? Last 3. Yeah. Last 2. Yeah. And last 1. Thighs together, hug the knees in, lower everything down. Nicely done. Once you get a hug, we'll come over to our side. All right. So grab your roller. Now this can be done without a roller as well. So if you're using a foam roller, this is just to give our top leg a little support. So it might be a little hard to see on video, but my bottom leg is straight. My top leg is bent with my knee and my foot on this foam roller. My knee is almost in line with my hip, right? Now, if you don't have a foam roller, don't worry. You can always take your ball under your knee and the foot can just be heavy to the ground. You'll still get a similar placement, right? Okay, so this is gonna be more for our inner thighs. So I'm gonna use the foam roller. Bottom arm can be long, top hip, reach it down a bit. Make sure it's not hiking up and then draw the waistline in. Lift the bottom leg. Now on this one, just make sure you have enough cushion under your hip, especially if you're at home on a yoga mat. You might have to play around with rolling a little forward or back, right? Just adjust. Now flex your bottom foot. Yep, and then inhale, lower that leg to the ground. Exhale, lift, bottom leg to the sky. Inhale, lower. Set your waistline, exhale, lift. So that bottom leg is straight. We're lifting and lowering, working into, oh, and then Nancy, switch legs for me. Top leg on the roller. Yeah, there we go. Then, yeah, I was like, that's a new one. Yeah, there you go. You feel your inner thighs? Okay, good. Good, everyone feels this? Okay. So as the thigh lifts, make sure the pelvis isn't hiking up, right? So keep going, couple more like this. Now last one, lift and hold. Now picture where your thigh meets your pelvis, and you're gonna lift a little bit higher for 10, 9, 8. So it's just a small little, almost pulsing motion. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest, let that leg come down. Now this one, again, it's kind of hard to show. So I'm gonna move the roller just so you can get a sense of what my back leg is doing, and then I'll bring it back. So my back leg just bends. So my back thigh is still long. My bottom hip is open. My bottom knee is 90 degrees and my foot's reaching back, right? And then I'm gonna take my roller or ball back under my top leg. Now my back thigh, my bottom thigh, I lift my thigh, knee, and foot simultaneously, and then I lower, right? So that bottom leg, it lifts and lowers. Now, the key on this is try not to let the knee hike towards your chest, right? So you want to think of that thigh still opening and the hip still opening. Yes, nice correction, Heather. Do you feel the difference there? So this should be more adductor, so inner thigh that crosses just your hip versus hip and knee. And as long as that thigh is reaching behind you a little bit, it's going to take it off the hip and really get it more into your inner thigh muscles, right? Again, usually a little bit awkward to find. And then Eva, feel that bottom thigh reach back just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Yep, last 3, 2, last one. Nicely done. Let everything rest. Take your foam roller or ball away from you. Stay on the same side. Now, we're going to set this up in a similar way. So now my knees are together and my knees, my thighs are almost in line with my body. So typically we would start clams, knees forward. We're going to bring those knees back. Yeah, so knees about 90 degrees, feet reaching back, and you should start to feel a little bit more openness through the front of the hip and thighs. Draw the waistline in. Top arm somewhere relaxed. Flex your top foot. Now, as you exhale, you're going to lift your knee and drag your bottom heel towards your bottom knee, right? And then I lower back down. I'll explain that one again. So as I exhale, I lift my top knee and I'm dragging my bottom heel, my bottom foot towards my bottom knee. You want that contact. And then I slowly lower, right? And as you do this, you want to feel, right, the back kind of center of the glutes firing up without the pelvis rolling back. So it's a different way to kind of play around with these clams, right? Or this external rotation work, this glute work. Everybody feeling that? Yeah. And then bring, so for Nancy, bring your bottom thigh back in space a little bit more. Just the bottom leg, really reach it back. Even more if you can, even more. So allow the hip to extend. So right now the knee is still kind of bent forward. See if you can bring it back more. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you should, so it's gonna be more ab work and you might feel more glutes too, or a different. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Couple more like this. Yeah. It's a different way to get this movement in the joint. Last one. Good. And then once you finish that, both legs lengthen out. Yeah. So in line with the rest of the body, bottom foot a little flexed, top foot pointed. Now my bottom leg is rooting downward. My bottom arm, palm is up, arm long, preferably, right? Or you can use a pillow or something like that, but we want to go for a little bit of balance work here. Rib lines in, top hand can be in front, or if you want to challenge your balance, it's right on top of this top leg. I'm going to lift up through my top leg, so outer hip muscles, and I'm going to start to reach it a little forward. I flex the foot and I tap my heel in front of my body. I lift, point, I tap my big toe behind my body. So I lift, turn out, tap. I lift, turn in, tap. So now, right, if you're going for the balance work, your core muscles, the front, the side, and the back, have to react to keep you from kind of wobbling forward or wobbling back, right? Yeah, and top arm, okay to use it as a little kickstand, right? Keep that bottom leg rooting down as well, so you get a little bit of that support. So we're working abductors, internal and external rotators, and balance. If you want to get really fancy, you can always bring your top arm overhead, palms facing one another. Ending to the back. And let the top arm come down. Bend both knees towards you and sit yourself up. Right? Now, both feet are going to flex on this. Right? Thighs come together. The arm that was lifted to the sky, that hand's coming onto my shin. And the arm I was laying on, that arm comes to the sky. So, right? So whatever arm you were laying on, that arm goes up. It might feel a little awkward, but you should get a nice big stretch from your hip through your armpit. Just let the head be heavy. Yeah. Nice. Breathing in through nose, out through mouth. So classically called mermaid, merman, merperson. Or just a lateral stretch, right? Now bring that top arm down to the ground. Let the other arm follow. And line your hands up with the top edge of your mat. So you're kind of in this like twisted child's pose, we'll call it. Shoulders square. Yeah. You might round your spine a little bit or play around with extending your spine and see where you feel more stretch across your upper back, your middle back, maybe under the armpit area. I always get a nice kind of deep waistline stretch on this. And just a couple breaths, maybe lowering onto the forearms if you want to increase the stretch, or taking your head onto your hands. Again, just lots of different ways to play around with this. And walk your hands up. And we'll switch sides. So if you were using a roller or a ball on your other side, whatever you were using, grab your prop. We'll do it all over again. So your top leg is on your prop. Your bottom leg is straight. You want to make sure that bottom leg isn't too far forward, right? The hip's not flexed, but that hip is really open. It's in line with the rest of the body. Head on your arm or a pillow. Yeah, whatever is comfortable. Top hip, lengthen it down. Lift your bottom leg. Flex your foot. And then inhale, lower the bottom leg down. Set your waistline, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. And this is one of those ones, again, if you need a cushion underneath your hip or just something to make it feel a little nicer, just make sure it's not torturous as you lift this leg up and down. So this is working into your adductors, right? Your inner thigh muscles. Waistline's in, rib line's in. Shoulders are just nice and easy. Now, if you wanted to get creative, you could put like a little teeny ankle weight on if you wanted to eventually make this more challenging. Yeah, make sure as your leg goes up and down, it isn't creeping forward, but that bottom hip is staying nice and open. Next time you lift up, keep the lift, keep the foot flexed. Picture where your thigh meets your pelvis. Lift a little higher for 10, 9, breathing out 8, 7, 6, just those little pulses. Last 3, 2, 1, lower. So my bottom hip stays open, right? I'll show this as best I can. My bottom knee bends to 90 degrees with my back thigh open, right? That back thigh is reaching behind me. And then as I exhale, I lift my thigh, knee, and foot. Everything lifts together. It should feel really awkward and kind of weird. Inhale, lower. Exhale, right? Thigh, knee, foot. Everything lifts together and we lower. So from a standing position, it would look something like that leg is back and pulling in and up, right? It's not hiking forward. Yeah, really good. Really, really good. Everything's lifting together. There's some coordination there that has to happen. Make sure that top hip doesn't start to hike up. So keep everything nice and long in the waistline. Yep. Are we all feeling that? Okay. So a lot of times we do a lot of inner thigh strengthening with the straight leg, but it's really good to train it as well with the bent leg because it'll focus more on just those hip muscles rather than the hip and the knee. Last 3. Yeah, it should probably fatigue out in kind of a weird way too. Yeah, a little strange, a little different. Last 1. Nice. And then let that lower. Whatever prop you were using, just take it off to the side. But the legs in this round of clams or external hip rotation, the legs stay open. So my knees, right, they're not forward. We usually start here. I'm pushing them back. So my knees, hips, and shoulders are all one long line, and my feet are behind me. Now, for me, I have really tight thighs today and hips. So I really have to concentrate on my ribs drawing in, my belly drawing in. Flex your top foot, lift the top knee, and I'm dragging my bottom heel towards my bottom knee. And I'm letting the thigh turn open. I feel the back of the glutes, and then I'm pushing back to where I started. So when I lift the top knee, think of really push bottom heel down as it drags towards your knee, and then lower back. So it's a different way of getting into these external hip rotators. A physical therapist friend taught me this recently. So just kind of a different way to play around with these external hip rotators. Again, just make sure posture, right? Hips, everything is in good form, and it's gonna hit into these muscles a lot more efficiently. Yeah. So as your heel drags towards your knee, think of the knee still lifting to the sky. So the knee lifts. Yep, keep it lifting as you drag. Yeah, there you go. Do you feel a more glute there? Nice. So it just helps that femoral head pivot a little differently in the joint. You might notice like less hip tension and really just a lot more freedom in the hip and a lot more glute work. Again, just ways to play around with like a lot of these similar exercises that we do. Last 2. Yeah, good. Last 1. And then lower down. Take both legs straight. So from toe all the way to head to arm, everything's a long line. And you can use your mat in front of you to help. Bottom foot a little flex, so that's gonna kind of keep you from wobbling too much. Top arm can be in front as a kickstand or on your thigh. Top leg lifts, point the foot. Yeah, about hip height. So abductors, right, these outer hip muscles, lengthen out a little bit from crown of the head to toes. Now drop your top foot in front of you, tap your heel to the ground. So you flex the foot, there's a little bit of a turnout in the hip. We lift, point the foot, tap your big toe behind you. So there's a little bit of internal rotation. Now, the bigger you start to make this motion, right, the harder it's going to be to balance. But I want you to feel that your core muscles, again, the front, the side, the back, they have to react to try to keep you upright, right? To keep you from rolling forward or rolling back. And as we're going up and down, you're using, right, external rotation, internal rotation, abduction. So just kind of a nice way to play around with balance, still work into our gluteals. Yeah, you can have both arms reaching long, so top arm overhead, palms facing one another. Waistline still in, we're not overly arced or rounded. And we'll end to the back. Keep that foot behind you, bend the knees, sit yourself up. So the arm that you were laying on, right, that's the arm that's going to come to the sky. So whatever arm you were laying on, that arm lifts, and that other arm is just kind of resting on your shin. Both feet are flexed to help protect the knee. And now just get a little bit longer and then take just that small side bend. Yeah, breathing into this waistline. Yeah, exactly. Top arm can kind of roll slightly forward to ease into the shoulder. And then take top arm down to the ground. Other arm follows and square your hands off with the top of your mat. So, or again, we're kind of in this twisted child's pose of sorts. And then we're just breathing into the upper spine, middle spine. Yeah, and you can play around with being on the forearms, resting head to hands. Or you just feel a nice stretch through the whole back line. Again, maybe even in the stomach line, deep hip. And breathing in through nose, out through mouth. And press yourself back up. And we're going to make our way back onto our side, just your opposite side. Make sure you're not on that same arm. So I'm going to be on my forearm, elbow under shoulder, ribs lifted, knees bent forward now, feet heavy. Roll the bottom shoulder out of the ears, lift the hips, top arm can go to the sky. So the first level, stay here, right? Legs are closer to the body, the levers aren't as long, it's got a little bit more supported. And can you feel the bottom armpit, shoulder blade, bottom hip line? If you want to advance, top leg goes long, just a little bit forward to the hip. If you want to up level again, bottom leg goes long. It's just behind the top leg, right? So longer levers, it's going to be a lot harder on the joints, on the muscles, on the waistline. Breathing for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring everything back down. Nice. Rest here for a moment. And then reset the shoulder, right? Waistline. Hips can lift. Top arm can lift. Now, this time, bottom leg will stay bent. Top leg option, it reaches out. Flex the foot and hold. So now both outer hip muscles, right? Both abductors are working. I'm pushing my bottom leg down as I lift my top leg up. Shoulders rolling out of ears. Waistline's in. Do we feel our glutes? Do we feel our waistline? Sweet. Now, for the next 10 seconds, you can bend top knee to top hand. Waistline stays long. Inhale, reach back to where you started. Just another 2. You can bend, right? Adding some motion, hand to knee. And reach. Last one. And just ways to play around with this. Reach, and then lower everything down and switch sides. Nice job. All right. So elbow under shoulder, knees forward, feet in line with the back of the sit bones. Roll that bottom shoulder out of the ears, connecting to that bottom armpit and rib line. Hips can lift, top arm can lift. Again, staying here, A-okay, or top leg goes long. Foot pointed, so sole of the foot heavy to the ground. That foot is a little forward to the pelvis. And then if you want to add on, bottom leg lengthens. Hips stay lifted. So here's your full form side plank. This one not adding any motion, just breathing, right? It's hard enough just to hold this position. Lots of little muscles having to work. Last 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, bring it all down. Rest for a moment. Roll bottom shoulder, right, out of ears. Yeah, if you need a little break, take a break on it. Reset, relift. Bottom leg will stay still. Top leg lifts. It lengthens out, flex the foot. So options stay here, right? There's work in stillness. Or if we want to play around with bending top knee, right? Waistline stays long. I push hand and a knee a little bit so I feel that top oblique line. I reach back. And again, I bend. I feel that pressure of hand into knee. I reach back. Yeah, it's going to set the glutes up a little bit more. It's going to set those obliques on a little more. Once you finish your third, find your center, lower down, and sit yourself nice and tall. Good job. All right. So we're going to come onto the stomach. If you have a roller, grab it. If not, this can be done without it. Same cues apply. All right. So all the way down onto our belly. So if you're using this roller, you just want to make sure you don't, the roller isn't going to go over the lip of your mat, especially if you're using a thick one like here at the studio. So I'm going to start the roller about a foot away from my mat. And I'm going to go onto almost the center of my forearm. So I'm not on my wrist, I'm not on my elbow. Nose about an inch off the ground, legs wide and turned out, pubic bone heavy, waistline lifts. Now keeping the head where it is. So my head stays heavy. Shoulders draw down. Same cue if your palms are on the ground. Inhale, start to float the head up. Upper spine, middle spine. Now you can stay right here. So we're just in thoracic extension, or you can continue to roll into full extension. Yeah, and then slowly lower. Yeah, and palms facing one another. If you have any general shoulder tension, will feel a little nicer. Again, shoulders set, heel, head, upper back, middle back, maybe coming into full swan, full extension. And then taking it down. Right, if you're doing this at home, you can have elbows in by your side. Right, peeling up, head, chest. Or you can have arms forward, peeling up, head, upper back, middle back, and down. Yeah. 2 more. Yeah, with the roller version, you will start to feel your triceps a little bit more, right? Your lats. Last one, whichever one you're playing around with. And then lower everything down, push back child's pose. Nicely done, good. Knees can be together or apart on that child's pose. Apart is a bit more hip stretch. Together, you'll get a little bit more spine stretch. Breathing into it, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then roll yourself up. We're going to grab the roller. So those of you at home without a roller, you can use a pinky ball or a lacrosse ball on a wall. You can roll out your outer hips and glutes. So Rudd, you could use a lacrosse ball on the wall. If you have a roller, you probably know what we're going to do. We're going to come on to our side. Best for last. So my bottom leg is straight. I'm just below my hip. I'm on my bottom forearm, kind of like we're in forearm plank again. Now I can use my top hand and my bent top leg to offload how much weight is on this roller, right? And I'm gonna roll towards my knee, and I'm gonna roll back towards the hip. Now I don't wanna roll over my hip, I don't wanna roll over my knee, but we're rolling out this outer thigh area, this big, thick, kind of connective tissue band. Oh yeah. So rolling over the IT band. If this brings literal tears to your eyes, stop. Maybe roll more onto your thighs, right? Or around it. Now you could also do this with both thighs connected, right? It's more weight, it's a little more torturous. It's all options. Yeah, keep breathing. This one will typically take your breath away. Go slow. Right, and you want to go slow so you really feel your body weight sinking into that roller. Now, if you're using a black roller like we are, These are more firm. The blue rollers, they're a little more forgiving. The white rollers, really forgiving, really soft. We don't have any white ones here, but you might have some at home. You'll typically see them in stores. Okay. And then release that, switch sides. Other side, so we'll see. Maybe that was the easy side. Maybe that was the hard side. Let's find out. So again, top leg can be bent, top arm can be bent. If you're using a ball on the wall, switch hips. Again, we're just rolling outer thigh. Try not to roll over the knee or the hip. Right, so rolling out helps loosen up and hydrate this connective tissue and bring more blood flow to our muscles. I know, so true. I know, no one does. It's pretty torturous. And just notice, right? Does one side feel different? Yeah. That's pretty typical. And once you have enough of that fun, roll onto the front of your thighs, right? At home with the ball on the wall, you can take that ball to the top of your shoulders or inner shoulder blade, right? Or you could go into a standing quad stretch. Right? And in this position, right, you're basically in like a rolling, a moving forearm plank. So all the rules of plank apply. Make sure you're not overly sunk in your lower back. Your core muscles are lifted. Elbows can be as wide as you need to offload your shoulders. And then play around with turning your legs in. So pigeon toeing gets more of like straight down the center of your thighs, turning out. So turn toes out. It's going to get a little more inner quad. And then whatever felt more torturous, hard, go into that position. It's probably where you need a little more roll. And then push back child's pose. If you're standing, forward fold. Oh yeah. And then let's all meet in a forward fold. Yeah, no rush. Softening through the knees. Yeah, relaxing through the head. Slowly root into your feet. Roll yourself up. Allow your head to come up last. And we'll end you there today. Thanks for joining.